Hello everybody and what is up? Welcome back to another FTB Infinity Skyblock mode. We did a few things on stream, and one of the major things was we did get the tier 4 jetpack. Again, nothing too crazy there, just some crafting. You guys didn't miss too much on that front. Just some more crafting. This was probably the hardest part, the resonant flux ducts. Just getting the petrotheum. That was the only other change. Using obsidian powder to get basalt's powder. That's really about it. That recipe right there. So we did that. We did a little bit of Thaumcraft as well. And let's actually do a quick example of what we did in Thaumcraft. So a little artificial hive. We need a bucket as well. And we made a thaumium barrel. Now, for those of you that don't know, a thaumium barrel is part of X asterisk right here. A little bit of thaumium, a thaumium nugget, etc. in the arcane workbench. And basically what you do is you can fill it up with some witch water, just like so, and you can apply an artificial hive to it. And then you right click that and you get a mana infused artificial hive. Now the cool thing about the mana infused artificial hives are you can then use these for lots of different things. So curious hives, unusual hives, and resonating hives, basically to get your start on the magic bee side of things. So now that we have this guy, we can run up here just with some amber. That's probably the easiest way to go, and get a resonating hive. We can throw that down, we can hit it with our scoop, and that'll give us some sorceress. There we go. Sorceress princess and a sorceress drone. But like I said, that's basically all you need to do to get started with your magic side of things. Now, these are ignoble. I really don't want to keep them, so it's fine. It's no big deal. We have already upgraded the ones that we do have into something better called the Eldritch. Alright, so the Eldritch is basically the next level up, and it's from basically any cultivated with any magic bee is what is going on there. We can disable that now and get this guy producing. The Eldritch is kind of like the common or the cultivated bee of the magic side, so really important to get that one going and continually breeding. Obviously we do have our Industrious and we have our Imperial. They are both working magically, and we are starting to get some pollen clusters and royal jelly, which is going to allow us to expand eventually onto alvearies with bees, which might be a little bit more intriguing. Our harvester is still working. It's doing its job perfectly. A lot of people mentioned sprinklers now from Agricraft. Now, here's my beef with sprinklers. I used them in regrowth quite a bit, and FPS issues, client side. I ran into problems with the particles continually being a problem. So I'm not sure if we're going to do sprinklers. I don't think it's in my game plan. They are really nice, but I think you're better off almost waiting and getting Botania set up for agricarnations, which is something that we may do down the road if we so need to. We might need a couple. That might be fun. But first things first, let's dive into the next part of our tech tree. We need to get things going on our IC2 side of things. We need an IC2 reactor. Simple as that. We have about 67 tiny piles of uranium. We got some other uranium. We need to start to combine this, and as you see by my little list here, IC2 reactor is on it. So we need to get that thing going ASAP. And we're kind of already behind, because we should have gotten it going a little bit ago, but we were doing a couple other things instead. So the first thing that I want to do is, this is incredibly slow. This machine, metal former, too slow. I tried a metal press with the plates. I don't know, the hoppers, sending them down too quickly. I tried moving it around. I tried adapting it. Like, even if I do this, let's see if this works. Just like so, onto there. And we could do this. I just don't think it's working all that well. And usually some get stuck. So we'll take off our ring, and we'll just double check that here. And I can show you guys. So that is going, and as you can see, they're just bottlenecking there because the hopper is actually outputting them too quickly. So you are getting some pressed through, but what's going to happen is they just sit there. they will literally just continually pile up and sit there, and it doesn't work appropriately at all. Now, I mean, not a huge deal. Like I said, you are getting some through. But you almost need to put it on a timer. And this is where the problem comes in. So now they're just sitting there. Well, we got 13 out of that stack. Really not efficient at all. So I haven't quite figured out how to perfectly automate those things quite yet. Bobbles, please. Thank you. Alright. Now, for now, we're just using the metal former. It's doing its thing, but we can speed it up. And the way to speed it up is we need to get a fluid solid canning machine from Industrial Craft. Boom, just like that. We did some preparations. Love it. We're kind of sort of running out of room here, aren't we? Well, let's just change this a little bit. Our hover is so much better on the tier 4. It's amazingly better. Okay, and we can do this and this. Okay, good. We can put the fluid solid canning machine there. We will quickly attach up some MV cables. Boom and boom. I did switch these out to MV. I believe we did that on stream as well, just so there's more power coming through. Now this has multiple different modes, as you can see here. So canning is basically, it's going to can the item in, you know, a piece of, like a can. Drain from cell into tank. So if you put in cells into a tank, it'll drain from them into the tank. Filling cell from the tank is the same thing. So say you have water or something in here and you want to fill up some cells, that's what that does. But fluid enrich is what we actually want. Now fluid enrich, we are looking for IC2 coolant. Now the problem with IC2 coolant is it shows you the recipe when you look up this. If you're looking up on the speed upgrades and all that kind of stuff, it will not show you what to do. So we need water first of all. And we need some sort of a fluid cell with some lapis lazuli dust. Lapis lazuli dust is basically seg milling lapis. It's probably the easiest way to go because I don't have a macerator. So we'll just do that. I think that's much easier. I forgot to do this. Alright, good. Get that going. Alright, so we need some lapis lazuli dust, and we also need to get some water over to here. Now, that's a bit of a problem. Oh, man. Do we lose it with this? I don't think we do. Yeah, we got it back. We got it back. Okay, this guy as well. I think I'm going to switch these guys around. So we'll put the extractor up above and the fluid canning machine down below. Good. Okay, and then we can run the pipe of water into there. So we'll set that back to the fluid enrich. The extractor's good to go, and I got to wire them back up again. Not a huge deal overall. Boom. And I think I need some more transfer pipes and stuff. Let me get everything that I need set up here, and we will build it. Alright, so one of the things that we need to do here first is, well, let's get that one plate done. And we'll set this to extruding mode with some tin plates. Now this should process us some empty cells, which is beautiful. We're going to need them. It's only a matter of time. We really need to get this machine going a lot faster. Let's just put it that way. Now, I've put in some lapis, so we got some lapis lazuli dust coming through. We can throw that in place, and we can throw in our empty cells, and this guy is going to start doing some work. It's going to take the water that we've connected up to the bottom, and it's going to convert it into a coolant cell. Awesome. Now, what we actually need is these 10K coolant cells, so that's more tin plates as well. So, again, we just need a whole bunch of plates. It doesn't matter. Way too many, to be honest, but I guess all in due time, right? So this is going to give us 3. Not bad, not bad. That should give us enough for 3 10Ks, which should give us enough for an entire set, or at least some overclockers that we can throw into this machine. So in the meantime, I'm going to hammer out more tin plates. You know, sometimes I wish I should just use the extra materials, just saying, to just use the hammer, the manual one, because it would be so much easier than this, waiting a second, and just throwing it in. Alright, so here we are. We can do the coolant cells. That's going to give us our 10K coolant cells. Very good. And what do we need as well for the overclocker? These guys would be so nice to automate, but not quite there. So we need some insulated copper with an electronic circuit, which is more extruding. So let's do that first and foremost. Before we run out of, the ability to do so, we need an iron plate, which I have. We need 2 more insulated copper cables. Good to go. Wait, those go in here. Oh man, a little bit of lag here this evening. Nothing too crazy, but still noticeably a little bit. We can do these. Oh man, it's getting worse. It's getting worse. Oh no. What are we going to do? All right. Good, and we can get out the cable. This will give us our electronic circuit, and we can then use this guy accordingly, boom, to get our first set of overclockers. Sweet. So now we can throw these in here, just like so. And what it's going to do is it's going to decrease the process time by 49%. So I believe we're pretty much cutting it in half. But it also increases the power usage by 256%. So quite a bit up there. I'm going to monitor this a little bit. I don't think we'll run out of power. We are inputting 1024 MF, or RF, sorry, into the system. So we should be good to go. But as you can see, the speed has already increased quite substantially, and that's going to be very useful for us going forward. I'm going to get a whole bunch of plates started up here because we're going to need it. We really are. And then I think we should be somewhat good to go for, getting our first, or at least starting our IC2 reactor. Alright, so one of the first steps that we need to do is we need to get some reactor chambers. So we're going to need a nuclear reactor and some reactor chambers. The nuclear reactor itself requires reactor chambers, and we're going to need 6 more, if I'm not mistaken, of these guys. So that's 9 total reactor chambers. Done. Just like that. Oh, yes, I love it. All right, now we're going to need the reactor itself, and that guy requires a few dense lead plates, sorry. The 3 reactor chambers. We need a generator. Ooh, I have to make that, okay. And an advanced circuit. Okay, so we need a circuit and all of that stuff as well. A decent amount of goods goes into one of these things. And the sad part is, this is the cheap part. Yes, indeed. This is definitely the cheap part when it comes to this setup, because the expensive part is all the stuff that has to go inside of it. Now, I used a quad setup in my previous Let's Play, and it worked really, really well. I had no complaints with it whatsoever. They never exploded. They never did anything that they weren't supposed to, all that kind of stuff. So they were really good overall, but I think I'm gonna mix it up a little bit, and we'll go with a couple different things, or at least one different thing this time around, because we can. Simple as that. 1, 2 of you. Good. We need the metal former. Yes, indeed. We need 1 and 2 tin plates into the tin item casings. Good, that'll be for the battery itself. These guys we need to extrude to get the copper cables. Oh, having all these speed upgrades is wonderful. 6 is too many though, just letting you know. 6 is a little bit too much for our current power situation. So we'll have to improve that. Okay, we'll put that right back in. And this guy will be our battery that we need. Good. The next thing that we need for our generator is the iron furnace, which is just a furnace. Do I have one lying around? I don't think I do. I think I used them all up. And you know what's funny? We moved the cobblestone downstairs. I actually don't have a good source of cobblestone right now. So yeah, that's a little funny. Just saying. Let's see. 9, that's 63. Plus 8, is that right? I don't know. We'll be close either way to making the furnace. We should probably actually get a good setup to make a furnace automatically, just saying. But we can do this with some of the plates, like so. That'll give us the iron furnace, good. With the plates, and the battery is going to give us our generator. Nice, achievement get. Apparently. Alright, and then we need to make this guy over here. So we need 8 of these. Good. We have them. I'm shocked, to be honest. We need some lapis lazuli tubes, and we're going to need a decent amount of redstone chipsets. We need at least 4 for those, plus another 4 just for the final setup there. So these 4 will go like so. These 4 will go in here for the basic capacitors. Very good. I don't think it matters which way, but I think that'll work fine. The intricate circuit board can then be placed in. That'll give us our advanced circuit, which we can place in and get our nuclear reactor. So we have our nuclear reactor. We have our 6 reactor chambers. Next step is to get all the stuff that goes inside of it and finding a place for this thing. As you can see, the server is about to restart, so we are going to restart as well. And let me figure some of this stuff out. Alright, so I've been prepping some stuff here to get some of our reactor going. Now, one of the things that we're going to need is we're going to need about 27 of these heat vents from Industrial Craft. Kind of a pain to make, and they don't stack. Good times. Not to mention we need about, 27, I think, if my math is correct, electric motors. Not ideal at all, but I have prepared everything that I need to get it done. So we have the motors, good, 27 of them, and those guys all go in between some iron plates and some iron bars. And this is going to give us our heat vents. Again, they don't all stack, so we're going to need to do this in a few steps. But I set up my reactor down here. Now, this reactor should not explode unless I actually screw it up. It's a little bit different than the previous reactor that I did in my single player. It's quite a bit cheaper as well. All things considered, the price point for this guy is way cheaper compared to the quad setup that I did before. Not to mention the automation and all that kind of stuff is going to be that much easier as well. Now, I don't believe you'll get as much plutonium per, but it's still a very, very good design, and one that a lot of you guys should look to use, to be honest. Just ease of use and all that kind of stuff, especially if you are not looking for power generation. I can't stress that enough. I mean, we're still going to get about, I think it's 135 EU per tick, so it's still nothing to really scoff at for power gen wise, but it does the job. It does the thing that's going to allow us to at least get some plutonium going and all that kind of stuff, so that we can actually start progressing towards our applied energistic system. So we can take all those back, thank you very much. And over here, let's see, we have 23, good. We need 27 of these guys set to extruding mode. And what this is going to do in the metal former, this is going to give us the fuel rods, just like you see there. Now, the next step is we need to remove these, and we need to set this to canning mode yet again. You could also make a canning machine for this. That's another thing that you could do. Now, let's see. We need a lever for the reactor, just so that we can turn it on and off, just in case. I usually just do like so. Good. So we have the heat vents kind of placed out in a checkered board pattern. Nothing too crazy there, pretty straightforward. We're going to need power pipes of some kind. It doesn't really matter what type you go with, but that's a different long story. Okay. So what we need now is we need the uranium itself. So uranium, we need the fuel rods of uranium, just like this. And that's going to require the fuel rods that I'm making right now with enriched uranium. Enriched uranium is uranium with tiny piles of uranium. That's kind of why we've been, making it, just saying. Just one of those things. But that should do the job quite nicely. So that'll go in there, and we basically need to put this enriched uranium inside of it. So let's grab all of what we can here, get a whole bunch, and see if we can't make a decent amount. Beautiful. We only need 27. So let's get the 27 of these good to go. Excellent. I'm going to put the rest away so that I don't forget that I have it on me. Make sure you're, of course, wearing your hazmat suit. Always be cautious. Alright, so that should start processing and putting it into the fluid, or the fuel rods itself. Boom. We are now getting fuel rods of uranium. I wouldn't mind speeding that up a little bit, though. It's a little slow, just saying. We'll give that a little boost of speed. 4 seems like the magic number with the MV connectors here, so that's pretty good. It's not bad at all. But we should get these fuel rods, and then we need to input them into the system downstairs. Now, again, this is why I built stairs down, so that I can walk with my hazmat suit down to the basement. The other thing that we probably should do at some point is get some sort of an elevator system into the basement as well. That way I'm not always jumping off the edge or having to walk all the way down the stairs and all that kind of stuff. But all in due time, I think, for that. Don't you hate it when your one shin is really, really itchy? But you know if you scratch your shin, it's just going to make it itch even more because it's like dry or something. It's the worst. I hate it. Alright, so we're almost done here with the fuel cells. Thank you guys so much for the likes and thumbs up and the comments and all that kind of stuff. You guys have been rocking all of that. Something fierce, and I really do appreciate it more than you guys even realize. So let's walk these down on stairs, and then we will basically get them in place. Shift click, because we already have the heat vents in place, will automatically place them spread out in the nuclear reactor. Very nice to have that as well. Now what these guys are going to do is they're going to run, they're going to generate power, and then they're eventually going to give us this depleted uranium rod. And then that guy we can put back in the centrifuge to get some tiny piles of plutonium. Now the other system that I had was the quad, and you would only get 4. So really it seems pretty adequate, give or take. But you do get 4 for every one run, but I think they ran out slower. I can't remember exact math on it, but we're out of uranium on us, so we can definitely get our speedy gear back on, because this is so slow. Isn't that annoying? Alright, there we go. Speed gear, hype. Alright, we can remove these. We don't need them in there. We can put them back in the metal form, because that's where we'll need them, definitely. And I think for the most part, our reactor is set up. So what I would like to do is I would like to get it extracted, or, you know, pulled out properly, so that at least we're using it for power. Now, to do that, I don't know if I have what I need. We can use immersive engineering. I think that's probably our best bet at this point in time. So let's get some of our immersive stuff and head on downstairs and just kind of connect accordingly. I believe we can pull it right out of the system here. I believe. Do not quote me on that. We'll find out together right away here. So that guy, like so. Our main storage battery is right up here. Let's remove this. That's so annoying. Yeah, we'll just do this for right now. That'll work, right? Good. And let's straighten this guy with that guy. Good. And then this guy goes over to this guy. Beautiful. Okay, so that should work quite nicely for what we need. And that'll pull it into the system. So, hopefully we don't explode anything, but let's turn on the lever. And we should be generating 135 EU per tick. No core temperature whatsoever. That is exactly what I wanted to see. That basically means that we're not heating up. And that should generate power for our capacitor bank. Now, we probably need to do an upgrade there before we'll even see the power, coming in there, but, you know, we know it's there for now. Especially if we set up a nice little laser screen or anything like that. It'll add up pretty darn quick. Now, I did make a resonant machine frame, and this first machine frame is definitely going to be for the QED, if I'm not mistaken. And, yeah, or... Ooh, it's not bad either. But I think the QED is going to be the first on our list to get. So, yeah, we're definitely doing QED, I think. That's going to allow us... What do we need the QED for? Do we need the QED? I don't know if we even need it at this point in time. I mean, retrievers would be nice, but not necessary. I think at the moment what we need... So we have the reactor up and running. That's very good. We can deplete that out, and then we can start getting some plutonium. And the reason we need plutonium is because we need iridium. And iridium, we need MOX nuclear fuel, which is plutonium and uranium. And we need this pellet of RTG fuel, which is plutonium and dense iron plates. Those guys go in an assembly table, and for 80 million RF, will give us one piece of iridium. Okay, now the iridium, what we can do with that is we can put it in a replicator from Industrial Craft 2 with UU matter, and that will replicate it for a small cost and should be the most efficient way to get iridium. And then we should be good to go on our applied energistics wrench, which is the enriched cerium, just like so, which is the enriched, or the cerium alloy, which is the iridium reinforced plates. So I believe it takes about a stack of iridium to get this thing done. So there we go. We have the IC2 reactor up and running. What else do we have in here? Plutonium replicator UU. We just talked about that. Matter fabricators, upgrading of machines. There's still a lot to go for that. And a few other things as well. As you guys can see, it's a pretty extensive list. I've not skimped out on the list. So we have our IC2 reactor. That's very useful. It's not going to explode. I'm almost 100% certain of that. And we are generating power. We definitely want to be generating power and draining these guys down as fast as possible. So they're starting to drain and whatnot. I don't know. Do we have this even chunk loaded? We do not. Okay. That might be a little problematic. We may want this to be chunk loaded. We may want this chunk right here to be chunk loaded. So instead of that, I'm going to chunk load our reactor, just so that we are continually processing all of the things. And we are within that chunk. Good. Excellent. That's F9, by the way, to get that information. Okay. Let me double check the time, and we'll go from there. Just as I thought, I've been talking a very, very long time, and I wanted to actually tell you one other thing that we did on stream, and this is the acclimatizer. The acclimatizer here is a block from genetics, and what that can do is basically you can take any princess or queen or anything like that and put it into the system, and you can apply things like ice or snow, or, you know, water and lava, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, or sand or something like that, and it'll adjust the climates that the bees can go in. So for example, I can't remember which one it was. It was one of the bees needed the acclimatization, and I cannot for the life of me remember which one, but one of them did need to be acclimatized so that it would actually breed and grow in this environment. So we got that done. No big deal at all. We are getting a little bit further along with bees. Not bad at all. I haven't done anything with the excited stuff yet. I've just kind of left it for now. We'll probably jump into that pretty darn soon. Lots of good ideas from many different people about things like using lightning rods to capitalize off of power on from immersive engineering. So if we take a look into that, go back. Let's see. No, not you. Power and lightning rod. Okay, a little expensive. It does require the enhanced Galgadorian metal, which is kind of a pain to make, and some dark steel blocks. So it's a little bit expensive for the rod base itself. But a lightning bolt strike does generate a decent amount of power, if I'm not mistaken. Now, how many of those do we need? Per one. Oh boy, that's very expensive to get 9. So maybe that's more of an end goal type thing that we can do for this setup. And we get the lightning rod base, and then of course you have to run the lightning rod itself, which I think is just iron fences? Steel pole. Steel pole, yeah. So that could be an end game kind of goal for the excited bees as well. Run a couple of those with a lightning rod and see what happens. So I think that's going to be it for us. We got some upgrades, we got some IC2 machines, we got all the different kinds of things, and we'll just keep on progressing along on all of this stuff, and eventually we will have ourselves the applied energistics machine. Oh yes, more signalum.